Greetings, brethren, it is I, the donkey, and today, for I think the first time in quite a long time, we'll just have a regular old German beer. There's been a lot of foreign beers and craft beers and weird beers and all sorts of other nonsense, and now we're just gonna go with a good old German classic. However, it is a classic that I have never had, but I know that it exists. I know that a lot of people really like them, and that is Astra. Astra is a beer brewery from Hamburg, I'm pretty sure. It's Hamburg, right? Yes, it's Hamburg. So that's in the north of Germany. And Astra has several different variants. This is the Urtyp, so the original or OG type, the ancient type, just is it a Pilsner? I think it's just a Pilsner. Yeah, it's just a Pilsner. So it's just an old tiny Pilsner. So I'm expecting this to be rather, because we have a few different kinds of designations for Pilsners, as Pilsners are the most drank beers across Germany. There are just your Pilsner, which is just kind of how they have developed in Germany. So they're a little bit more rounded, not as aggressive and as bitter as the Bohemian Pilsners, which we generally call the Urpilsner, which is the sort of OG, the original, the old-timey one, right? Because the ones that we have, our normal ones, are just kind of a bit more modernized. And then there's also things like Edelpils or a noble Pilsner, which would be sort of a more refined and trying to bring down the bitterness a little bit more and round it out. And there's generally a little bit more, shenanigans going on with those types of beers. So this one, I'm expecting it to be rather Bohemian, and it's also a northern Pilsner, so I'm expecting it to be a lot more savory. They do like their sort of almost herby beers. And I'm going with a big glass because screw those tiny ones, I'm sick of them. Whoosh. And here we have it. Oh, I didn't even smell it. Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's I can already tell this is going to be a little bit more on the sort of what we call würzig, so kind of spicy, but not hot spicy, just kind of herb spicy. Let's have a go. Oh yeah, yep, okay. So definitely very, very, well actually, no, okay, it is a bit higher on the bitterness level. Maybe not as extreme as some, truly Bohemian Pilsners. Definitely the spice flavors are coming through very nicely. Quite savory. There's also a little bit of a sort of almost an acidic note going on, but it's kind of in the background, so it's not overwhelming. It's not annoying, and there's definitely also that hallmark classic Pilsner flavor that has these sort of I mean the hallmark flavor from a Pilsner also comes from the hops, but it's a sort of a specific type of hops that is really, that was always used in Bohemia and kind of came from there. And that gives a very, very interesting sort of taste underneath it all that a lot of other beers don't have. It's almost mushroomy, if I had to describe it, which is also kind of funny because mushroom means Pilz in German, but like Pilsner, but with a Z. So a lot of kids growing up think that that's where the name comes from because, it kind of makes sense with the slight mushroomy taste. But yeah, it's actually quite nice. Yeah, it's good. I like it. Maybe on the second drink, the acidic note that it has is maybe a bit too much. It just became a little bit more. I don't know if that's going to be annoying on repeat drinkings. Yeah, a little bit. It comes a little bit too much. Yeah, that's not so nice. Definitely makes it less of a drinking beer. You're gonna want to sit down and take your time with this one, because otherwise it's just gonna keep building up and become a little bit obnoxious. But in general, I think the flavor is pretty good for what it is. It is definitely. I can absolutely tell the difference though between this, between a more sort of southern German pilsner, or what we consider the standard pilsner, and this sort of northern German type. It's really interesting. Now that I've actually had a couple of Altbier, because Altbier is also one of those types that basically died out in southern Germany. You really don't get very much of that sort of thing. Altbier being the old-timey version of how you made beers before lager yeast was found and the method developed. So it's a top fermentation yeast. And it's also a little bit easier to brew that kind of beer, but it has a really interesting flavor that you just don't get with lager beers. Which is interesting, I suppose, because I'm sure the people back, in the ye olden days when lager beers first came around said the same thing. Oh, these lager beers they just have something that the old beers don't have. So anyway, but yeah, those kind of things you only find in some Landbier or Keller beers, which are sort of more regional, traditional kinds of brewing, and they've kind of kept that style alive a little bit with northern lagers, which does kind of set them apart a little bit. And I find that really, really fascinating. So, yeah. I like it. It's difficult to say with this one what I would rate it, because I don't think I would get this again. Because here's the thing. A while back, I did a short little gimmick thing that was a road trip to Denmark. I'll link the playlist up here, or up there, I should say, actually. And I started that by doing the Flensburg Pilsner. And I actually think that the Flensburger is much, much nicer than this one. Ooh, this one, the Astra. That one also was a lot more, it had that sort of herby spiciness. That came through there way more, and I really enjoyed that. So I can taste that there are similarities between these sort of northern lagers that they kind of share, but I definitely don't like this as much. And because it isn't as interesting in how it presents itself flavor-wise, I don't think I would get this again over a sort of southern German Pilsner or a Bohemian Pilsner. So, yeah, I think I can only give this... I mean, it's fine. It's definitely a fine beer to drink. I wouldn't be upset being served this. It's nice. It's light. You can definitely tell that this is also going to go really well with food. Not so much cooking with it, but definitely having it with food would be good. Anything meaty, I think this would go really well with, because it has a little bit of that acidic note that can, cut through some of that meatiness. Yeah. And some, through fatty foods. Yeah. So yeah, I don't think I can give this more than a 6 out of 10, which might sound harsh because it's actually not that bad, but I don't know, I just don't find it to be, it doesn't quite get there for me, for anything particularly interesting. The Flensburger was just really interesting because it was so specific in what it did, it was so, and it was also a lot more refreshing than this ended up being. So yeah, I think the 6 out of 10 is probably justified. Yeah. But I wouldn't like if this was served to me, I wouldn't be unhappy. I would be okay with that. I just don't think I would get it again. So one of those one-off beers that still kind of manages to be a 6 out of 10, which tends to be German beers, because I can get other German beers. I can get a similar experience, is what I'm trying to say. But I can get it locally, because I'm pretty sure this cost me like €1, Was it a yeah, probably. I think this cost me €1.10, which is a lot for a small bottle. So, yeah, that makes me want it even less. Because, you know, you can get cheaper beers locally that are at least equally as good. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say to this. Not too bad. I'm not upset about drinking it, but it doesn't blow me away. I hope you had a wonderful evening, and please do join me again on another day with another beer. Take care, guys.